Hi, I'm GeoDev, and this video we're going to start looking at the updated versions of the Unreal Development Kit and how to set up a very basic project. This is purely a get you started thing, and we'll try to keep it as quick as possible. So what do we need to do? Right, first thing you need to do is obviously install it. Now once you've installed it, what I do severely really suggest is that you run the editor and you run the game. So how do you do this? Go on to your start program, go down to wherever you've let's see, there we go, development kit. Now you can start them from here, but what I like to do is straight away send a copy to the desktop, and again for the game, because we're going to need them later anyway. So let's go down here, let's see, yeah. Now we'll start the editor up. Now you might think, well, why on earth is he doing this? Well, just give me a couple of minutes, yeah, because you'll get this. As you can see, I haven't even started the editor on this install at the moment. And as you noticed, I've had other UDK installs, but we'll get onto that in a minute. Alright, very quickly, he said, hopefully. Now this is a problem when you're doing the first start. It then goes through everything, making its asset list and make sure everything's up to date. So it can take a while, especially if your hardware's not the newest going. Right, there we go. There we go. We'll just leave all this here at the moment as it is. Your welcome screen, your content browser, and the initial playing map. Right, so what I'm going to do, just going to close that down, and now we're going to start the game. You might wonder, well, why on earth is he doing this? Well, like I said, I'll show you in a minute, but when you're starting a project or start moving, before you move the stuff you've already got onto the latest build, right, you probably get a bit of sound here. Let's go for a quick death match on deck. 1 second we got. We don't want that experience. Wasted. There we go. Go back. Start the game. Now, as you can see, this is on full screen. Well, nearest down. No, not full screen. It's on windowed and takes up pretty much all the screen of my laptop, which is not good when you're just testing. But I'll show you how to do that now. Right, here we go. We're in. Have a weapon. That's all we need. Alright, so we go back out. Alright, go into exit game. Now that's all we need to do there at the moment. Now I'll show you why we've just done this. So open your browser, Windows browser, and the first thing you do, obviously navigate to wherever you got your UDK set up. Now I always put it on the second partition, not on my main, but on my second partition. That way it creates less problems with the, what is it, the UAC, that stupid rights thing, that Windows has. So what we then do is, let's see, do this so you can see it. Open up the folder, go to the UDK game folder, and down here is logs. This folder, logs, is very important when you are testing your content. Okay, so just open the log up, and if you're having any problems, it's like you can see here, you can't find a sound event for scrolling out and roll over, and yeah, textures. Now, if you've already put your stuff in here and then you start to find these problems, you're like, oh, what you done wrong? Well, you've done nothing wrong, because that's, you actually now can see what the original build creates. So when you ask on the forums help and people say, well, check your log, this is where you go. Okay, now if you look a bit further, you'll see you'll get launch log backups. Obviously all date and times. Now if you look at that one, that's probably me when I opened the editor, opened it and closed it, didn't do anything, so I didn't have anything to record. As you can see, encounter missing default brush, spawning a new one. Does that every time. Okay, so that's where you find the logs. Okay, so how do we set up a new project? Well, first thing you want to do is set up a folder set for your content. Yeah, this is where you're going to put your characters, your maps, and all your bits and pieces. Now I've done a bit of work here already. So what we do, in your UDK build, go to UDK game, content, open that up. Now as you can see here, I've already put the DavCorp folder in there. Slightly different setup from what it used to be, so don't worry about it. You can put everything in there, and then I copy this by saying, yeah, content. That's where I've got my characters, environments, my help files, maps, UI, vehicles, and weapons. So you can put it all in one big folder if you want, but this just makes things easier for you to organize, especially if you're working with a few guys, then things don't get mixed up. So once you've got your content folder set up, the next thing that we have to do is actually set up a development folder for your scripts and your code. Now I haven't done this yet, so you go into UDK folder set, development, src. Now in here we create a new folder. Okay, we're going to call this DavCorp, and in there we're going to create another new folder, and we're going to call that classes. Now you might be wondering why I'm doing that. For a simple reason, that's what all these other ones are doing. As you can see there, you got all your UC files. Yeah, and we're gonna, in the next video, what we will be doing is making stuff to go into this folder. So the next thing, once you've got your folder, your development folder set up, because it doesn't matter what you do in UDK, you're going to have to do a little bit of coding, and this is where you're going to put it. But where the editor will always find your content here in the UDK game folder set, yeah, it won't find your code in the development section unless you tell it where that it's there. And to do this, we go back into the UDK game folder, go into configs. Alright, let's just open that up. Now I'm not going to go anywhere near iPhone, mobile, or the other default profiles. The ones that we're going to deal with purely are the standard ones here. We have the default ini files and the UDK ini files. Now, in days gone by, on the modding scenes, you were always advised not to touch your default ini files, because if you did, the only way to get them back is by reinstalling. So let's just go on to the safe side and just make it a very small RAR file with our configs. So if we do mess anything up, we've got a backup. Okay, and then you don't have to reinstall everything. Now, the reason why I say this is that in UDK, the majority of the stuff you, as the developer, are going to have to put into the default ini files. Okay, you can, while testing, just put them in the UDK ini files, but in the end, you're going to have to put everything that you've put into the UDK inis into the default ini files. So get into the habit either of making a text file with all the entries that you've made, or going straight in and being extremely careful with the default ini files. This is what we're going to do straight away. I know I've burbled on a bit, but what we have to do, alright, now I'm still going to be jumping around here, is for UDK to see your code files, you're going to have to make an entry into the default engine ini file. Now there's two places I put this. One is the Unreal editor engine, and I'm not 100% sure, me not being a pro and I don't work for Epic, it might be an idea to put it into engine script packages as well. So all we have to do is copy and paste. Obviously we've already got UT game content, so we're just going to dev corp and do exactly the same here. Copy. No, hang on. There we go. And paste. And change that again to dev corp. No, not DAC. Dev corp. Okay, so, and before we go, save. Now that hopefully will be all you have to do for the moment in the default engine ini file. That now tells UDK you have got a code folder set or project in the development source folder setup. We haven't got anything in there at the moment, but it will check every time you start either the game or the editor to see if anything has been changed within this folder sets, yeah, and then ask if you want to compile it. I'll show you that in a later video, but this is where you need to have it set up. Okay, nothing else in there that we need. Let's have a quick look at the default game. Now, as you can see here, default game being UDK simple. These are the things that have been changed in the last couple of releases. Okay, we will in the near future be going in here a little bit more to steal, copy, paste. Oh look, weapons, key bindings, things like that. That's PS3 key bindings, client options, server options, ooh, and stuff like that. Maps, could be needing that, but that's about it for the moment. At this moment in time, for the initial setup, that's all we need. So in the next videos we're going to be looking at things like doing our first game type and setting everything up for that, which gets a little bit complicated. Okay, so we'll just leave it at that for the moment, and I'll see you soon.